Have a buyer you need pre-approved? Well, the Brian Manning team is available 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we can close as quickly as 10 days. Call me anytime, 303-500-3839. All right, everybody, welcome to our Balance in Motion podcast. Today, we are super excited to be here with Josh Mettle. Let me give you a little background about Josh before we really jump into this. Josh is a mortgage banker, private money lender, entrepreneur, real estate investor. He's based out of Park City. Also divisional president with Neo Home Loans and a business owner. I didn't know this before. Josh attended and played football at University of Northern Colorado. After he was done with school there, he really became a real estate investor. I think he said 2001 with his mom, Cynthia. Now in his family office, they own and manage about 170 commercial and residential properties. Josh, that's a lot of doors. That's probably a whole different podcast. Speaker, author, educator. He gets his message out through books, podcasts, seminars. I'm just so stoked to be here today. Josh Mettle, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for being here with us today.
I'm smiling, Brian, because you're saying the name of the podcast is Balance in Motion. I'm about to fall off my freaking treadmill here. So when we got the motion thing, we're going to see if the balance follows. But thanks for the kind introduction, bro. It's great to be here with you and your audience.
My pleasure. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for carving some time out of your day today. So, when I really get into these, I first really just love to learn about your journey. And really, before LinkedIn and the titles and kind of everything where we are right now, can you just bring us back to your roots? Give us a little feedback on like your journey, how you got started, from the beginning.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't great.
Yeah, we find that out most times, but that's okay.
So I was raised by a single mom. You mentioned Cindy, who eventually became my business partner. She actually eventually she went back to law school in her 50s, Brian. And
wow.
Yeah, she graduated Phi Kappa Phi, which is like top 1% of law students in the country from the University of Utah. She then went on to be the first solo attorney in the state of Utah, meaning you graduate law school, you go straight into opening a solo practice. No woman had ever done that in the state of Utah before her. So, of course, I wanted to pick her as my business partner, right? But early in life, she didn't have that level of success. She was a solo entrepreneur. My mom and dad were divorced before I was born, and I was raised in and out of the welfare system. Remember the first time when I was 13 years old, buying groceries at the Food for Less grocery store on 3300 South and Redwood Road. Never forget it as long as I live. And the gal on the checkout stand says, puts over the loudspeaker, "We need help with a food stamps purchase on aisle number 7. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh shit, that's us. I'm on aisle number 7 and we're buying groceries with food stamps. One time I remember my mom had promised me she was going to take me if I passed this math test that I was studying for. I'm like 11, right? And she said, if you pass this math test and you get such and such grade, I'm going to take you to a movie in Fuddruckers to get a hamburger, which anybody from Southern California knows that's like a really cool hamburger joint. And for me, like, we went out to eat once a year. So this was like, you're going to Kauai, right? Like, this was a big deal for me at 11 years old. And the deal she had closed in her business didn't pay her. She didn't have any money to take me to get that. I watched her sell her wedding ring at a pawn shop to come up with the money she needed to take me to Fuddruckers and a movie. So we were rich in love. She had an abundance of love, but we didn't do so well on the financial side. So that created this real curiosity in me and honestly a fear. Like, I was super fearful about money, and I couldn't understand how we couldn't buy new tires on the car. So we were blowing out tires going out on the freeway because she couldn't afford to replace them. And you'd pull up, as I was raised in Southern California, you pull up to this like Bentley or Rolls Royce or Ferrari, right? And I was like, where does all this money come from, right? And I remember going downtown LA as a kid, and I'd put my hands on these glass skyscrapers, and I'd look way up. All right, balance in motion. Let's see if I can pull this off. But I'd look way up, and I'd go like, who has the money to build this 50-story, 60-story skyscraper, and where does it all come from? So I had this like fearful relationship with money, very much scarcity mindset. I had this mom who was like the greatest, like more love, more encouragement, like the greatest, matriarch or mother that I could possibly ever have. And it created this real fascination with me, this real curiosity around where does wealth come from? How does one get all this money, and why don't we have any? And it was a bit of a tumultuous or unpleasant moments in growing up, but on the other side of that, it created this ravenous hunger. Like, I was super curious, right? I wasn't reading science books or Boy Scout books. I'm reading financial books, like what's the difference between bonds and treasury bills and stocks, and I'm reading about stock markets at like 11. And when I was in junior high, my mom came home from, she was going to law school, I think, at this time. She came home and I'm like watching CNBC, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Mom, this ticker code across the bottom, it's like the secret of money. And I'm gonna watch this until I figure out what the freak this ticker code means, and I'm gonna become rich." So it's really interesting, right? I came from this scarcity fear that became just a crazy, ravenous curiosity, which then eventually led me to Robert Kiyosaki, understanding about the cash flow quadrant, and that ultimately helped me set the goal that I wanted to escape the rat race, which those of you who are students of Kiyosaki know that that's when your passive income exceeds your expenses, and then you're essentially free. You're out of the rat race. You can do whatever the hell you want with the rest of your life, and you can just focus on things that bring you fulfillment and, go chase skyscrapers.
I love it. So you have kids.
Yes.
How do you teach this to your kids?
Oh, it's so hard, bro.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. Okay, so a couple things. Well, first of all, I wanted to save my kids from going through what I went through as a kid. And then as I started raising the kids, I was like, oh shit, I actually want to expose them to all the things I went through as a kid. I had it wrong. I had it backwards. I want them to struggle. I want them to have that drive. I want them to a certain extent, feel like they have to run so fast that they're escaping the jaws of death that's right behind them that keeps them motivated to go. And I'm like, all right, I'm never going to be able to create that. Like, I've raised them in a way that they're never going to feel what I felt. So how do I get them to be custodians of this wealth that I hope to pass on to them? That's my goal. So one of the things that we did, two things I'll mention. One, we set them up high yield savings accounts when they were very young. And we always pointed out, rather than having like a chore list, we'd point out problems in the house. And we'd always tell them from a young age, if you want to become wealthy, find a problem and solve it. So they were like, okay, what does that mean? And I'm like, that garage is a problem. Like, go solve that problem for me and I will pay you. So I started like framing it differently. And I would just come up to them. I'm like, guys, I got 3 problems. Number 1, we have a party this weekend and the back deck needs to be blown off, windows cleaned, and it needs to look amazing. Problem number 2, right? And I'd give them the 3 problems and I'd be like, which one of those problems do you want to solve? Because I'm willing to pay for all of them. So I started to frame earning money not as an hourly wage, but I started to frame it because I wanted them to start to look for what are the problems that I can solve, and as I solve problems, I get money. Versus, if you go work for 2 hours, I'll pay you $12, right? So that was the first thing that we started doing at a very young age, like 6, right? Like, we had a pool. I remember we had a pool party. The next day I came down to look at the pool and I was like, oh my God, I don't even want to come down here. It looks like a bomb went off, right? And I came upstairs and I'm like, big problem. That backyard is a huge problem. You guys have no idea how much money I would pay if you could solve that problem. So we started doing things like that. That was number 1. Then we opened high yield savings accounts for them. And I said, look, when you solve problems, you get money and you get to do whatever you want with it. You can spend it on candy. You can buy yourself a toy. You can buy yourself clothes. But if you decide to save it, I will double it. Then, after they did that for a few years, my son, who's 15 now, I think he was about 11 or 12, we were buying a big retail center. This is a 120,000 square foot retail center, like Big 5, GameStop, Target. These are our tenants. And we were talking about this deal with my mom, who became my business partner, over dinner multiple times, lots of conversations. This is like a 6-month transaction to orchestrate this thing, right? We're bringing in investors to bring in cash into this thing. And my son's like, hey, I got $1,800 in my savings account. Could I be a partner with you? And could I invest in that partnership? And we were like, gosh, man, of course. Like, we'd love to have you as an investor. Then he asked all his due diligence questions that a smart 12-year-old would. It was hilarious. I remember he came to my mom and he's like, his grandma, and said, Grandma, Dad thinks this is a good investment, but do you ever think I'll get my money back? Like, he's checking me against Grandma. It was hilarious. And she said, yeah, it's a great investment. And if you decide to invest your money, I'll double your investment. And then quarterly, that business pays him a distribution. And he has a choice. He can go spend that money, or if he saves it, he doubles it. And then if he saves that money, he can invest in the next property, he doubles it. So pretty soon the kid figures out this is like 100% rate of return annually. He's like, okay, solve a problem, save it, Dad doubles it, invest it, Grandma doubles it, get a quarterly distribution, save the distribution, Dad doubles it, invest it, Grandma doubles it. So it's kind of, like my kids are, and it's so funny. We had one of our properties, Brian, we had told investors that we thought we could get them a 9% return. Well, after 2 years, the property wasn't quite performing well as we thought. So we had to reduce the payouts to 7%. Guess who's the one investor who busted my balls the most? My son.
Your kid.
Yeah, he's like, what are you guys doing? He's like, we had a deal. This was a 9%. Like, what's going on over there? What do you guys do all day? You can't get a 9% return. So it's like, I guess it's just kind of like helping them think as entrepreneurs and problem solvers, rewarding them. Like, I have to speed up the velocity of win. I've seen that savings is the precursor to being able to have capital to invest that creates the ability to get out of the rat race. But I learned that over 20 years. Well, I don't have 20 years with him, right? I have between 12 and 18. So I have to accelerate that learning journey with him by doubling his savings, because that's the activity I want to reward, and then doubling his risk-taking and investment. So I have to accelerate all those things. So I'm trying to help him think as an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to help him think as an investor in the short window of time that I have with him before he's gone.
I love it. And it is a short window that goes very fast.
Gone. And then they get girlfriends that are like, my 15-year-old's dating an 18-year-old girl. So it's like, I never see him. He's gone. Like, he's literally gone. He's like a roommate.
Yep. Are you an investor that does fix and flips, or are you a realtor that has clients that do fix and flips? Well, I can help you make a cash offer, and we can close as quickly as 7 days. To learn more about our private hard money lending, call me anytime, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 303-500-3839. So clearly your family just sounds very important to you.
Totally.
Which is amazing. And I love to hear the passion in your voice, talk about teaching your kids. And, really the podcast came to be because I just feel like on social media, everybody looks perfect. They're living this wonderful life. They've never gone through the school of hard knocks. Whereas, as we were talking about before this, to really get to an area where, I think kind of balance is bullshit, where you kind of find your flow in life, you got to go through some hard knocks.
Yes.
How has that evolved over time? And, owning 170 doors, divisional president, NEO, running a mortgage company, everything you have going on, but also finding time to really be, when you're with your family, I can only guess that you're there, you're with them, that's your on time there. How do you navigate all these irons in the fire and then still find that flow for everything?
Boy, that's a really big question, Brian.
We all struggle with it. That's why I asked, because we all struggle with it. And everyone I talk to, no one knows the perfect answer.
Totally. So first of all, let's start with like the philosophical answer to the question. My balanced life is being unbalanced in different areas at different times, right? Like I never feel like I'm riding perfectly balanced. I'm unbalanced here for a little while, and then I'm balanced here for a little while. So let me give you an example. When the Great Recession came, my mom and I had acquired 63 single-family rental properties. That was our starting place before we got into commercial. And when the music stopped, my mortgage career, we'd closed 357 transactions the previous year. Going into January, I had 2 loans in the pipeline. I was 30-ish years old, and I realized I was, 45 days away from bankruptcy. I was going to lose these 63 properties because many of them were on ARMs. Some of them were on neg-am ARMs for cash flow. And I had like 7 remodels going at the same time. I was hemorrhaging cash, right? And, spoiler alert, at 30, I hadn't been as responsible as a fiduciary over my savings as perhaps I could have been, right? Like cars might have been a little too fancy. Penthouse condo might have been a little too fancy. Like I was out over my skis with kind of the belief system like, hey, every year I've been able to make more money, so I can kind of just spend whatever and it's all going to work out. Well, we all know that didn't play out all that well in the Great Recession. When that happened and I was forced with the reality of you're probably going to file bankruptcy, you're probably going to lose 63 properties, not sure how this is going to work out with your new wife who kind of likes the lifestyle that you've created, right? Like you might lose it all, bro. This is my self-talk, right? And I went to Hillary and I kind of painted this picture with her and I said, I need permission. I need to get way out of balance. Like we either got to let all this go and just start over, which we could totally do, right? We can move into an apartment tomorrow and write it all off. Or I got to get way out of balance and I don't know how long. But I promise you, at some point, if you let me get way out of balance, I will figure this out. We'll get back on top of it and then I'll swing the other direction. And we'll take a 90-day sabbatical. And I actually told her, I said, I think within 3 years, if you let me get totally out of balance on the work side, I think I can save us. I think we can pay off our house in cash. And as soon as that happens, we'll take 90 days and go anywhere in the world you want. We'll take a 90-day sabbatical. And that's what we did. It took us actually 4 years. We went from 2 loans in the pipeline to 4 years later, my team closed 120 loans in 1 month. We'd paid off my house completely. All the properties were stabilized. Mortgage rates went down. If you remember what happened after the Great Recession, we refinanced most of those properties. We were able to create cash flow. And we went to Thailand with a 18-month-old and a 6-month-old. No, is that right? No, a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old. Excuse me. A 3-year-old. Xander was 3. Ari was 18 months. And we boned out. I didn't take a business call. I returned some emails in the morning. I didn't do shit. I didn't talk to a client, a realtor. I didn't talk to my team for 90 days other than a few little emails here and there for that period of time. So I tell that story because I was super out of balance for 3 years, 3.5 to 4 years. I was waking up at like 2:30 in the morning. I was studying direct response marketing from people like Dan Kennedy and Eben Pagan. I was launching UtahPhysicianHomeLoans.com. I was growing my team. I was bringing this physician or medical professional home loan product to market in a time that it was needed. And it was a tremendous amount of work. It was a 15-hour-a-day job for 3.5 to 4 years. And then when I hit the goal that I told her that I thought we could hit, then we boned out for 90 days. So it was like completely out of balance, followed by completely out of balance the other way. And that's kind of more like my life has worked. Now it's a little different, just in full transparency. Like, I don't need to go to work anymore. I do it because I love it. I do it because it's still challenging. This market's a bitch for anybody in real estate or mortgage. Like, this is a tough market, right? And I kind of dig the challenge, but I don't have to get as extreme anymore because I've gotten the place where the cash flow exceeds the outgoing expenses and all those types of things. But still, I have those periods where we just had it this year where we moved to a new company. We had this whole new lead system and lead conversion coming in. Same conversation. Hey, I need to get out of balance from January through April. And if you let me do that, we'll go to Spain for 3 weeks and I'll be completely offline. Do I have permission to run hard for the next 120 days? Yep, see you in April. So that's my version of balance, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how it's worked for me.
I know that's perfect because I've said forever starting this podcast was it's like a pendulum shifting, and it's never perfect. You start at one side, which is whatever your work side, and it's just all in. And then it shifts over to the other side. And ideally that's your family time, your personal time. It's never in the middle ever, really. It always just feels like it's very strong on one side or the other. So I agree.
And I think the key is like having the real conversation with your partner and with your family, and like, here's what is at stake. Here's what we can win. Here's what we could lose if we didn't do this. Here's what I think we should do, but here's what it's going to cost in terms of time, energy, dedication. Do you agree with me? Is that the path that you think we should go? Yes, that makes sense. Okay, great. I have your buy-in. I have your commitment. Let's go. And then, of course, during that period of time, right, if you're going to run hard, there still needs to be a day where you're like, phone off, not talking to anybody. I'm just going to hang with my family. Like, they need 24 hours of dad. And then you can go back for the next 6 days and go super hard. So communication and agreement through those periods of imbalance, I think, is really important.
Yeah, that's a whole different marriage counseling podcast right there.
Totally.
Which we're not getting into.
And we should probably hire a professional to come in here.
But I agree with you. So I'm going to go to Botswana in December. So I have this thing I'm doing right now. My wife and I talked about it's my burn 140. I got 100 when I bought the plane tickets, 140 days till I was leaving. And it's just, I'll take those moments in the middle, like you're talking about, those days off. But in general, it is all out 140 days and then enjoy it.
So there's something to be said about that, because you've already planned your return to balance or the reward, right? So now it's like you're in. It's like you've almost like jumped out of the airplane, and you're like, we know when I'm going to pull the ripcord and the parachute's going to come out, but it's not going to happen until I get to that elevation. And it's decided, right? You've already made that commitment.
Yep, that's right. So right now, what are you working on now that you're most excited about? You said right now this is kind of fun for you. Like it sounds like you're just loving your opportunity right now, the days you kind of get to create your schedule. But what are you working on that's most exciting right now?
So 3 things, and don't let me not be accurate with anybody. Like this is a very challenging time in the mortgage industry. Like there's still, I've got teammates that are flourishing, and I have others that are like, I got to pull off my home equity line this month, right? So I feel that pain and that struggle. I lived through that multiple times in my life. So I'm working very hard, and it is stressful for me to make sure that I pull the team through this period and we all stay together, because I know there's going to be great times on the other side. So it's I don't want to give you the illusion it's stress-free and easy. Like I could show you my alarm clock. It still goes off at 4 a.m. every morning, and I'm getting up and getting after it. But I love that routine. I love that cadence. 3 things I'm working on right now. Primary focus of mine is my production team, making sure we get through, as I said, through this period with everybody intact, and nobody losing any houses, nobody getting divorced over money. Like I need to try to work as hard as I can to create abundance for my production team and keep everybody together. So that's number 1. Having a great time with that. A lot of stuff with lead conversion. Most of my day is spent on lead generation or lead conversion ideas, using AI to help us be better converters, using AI to help us be better marketers, teaching AI on how to make things for my team more time effective. So that's priority number 1. Second thing I'm doing, I'm having a ton of fun, is we started a coaching company called The Loan Atlas. The Loan Atlas is a coaching company that was created originally by Tim Brahim. He's brought in 18 other faculty members, so there's 19 faculty members. Those 19 faculty members have written $29 billion in personal production. That's not team production, that's personal, like they talk to the customer production. So very experienced, high-producing mortgage advisors that are now teaching and trying to transfer the knowledge, everything they've learned, to the next generation of originators in a time where I think people really need both the information and the inspiration in order to be really successful in this industry. So I'm pouring a lot of time in that. That's been super fun. We did an MBS Highway webinar last week with Barry and Dan on AI, Brian. We had 1,900 people attend the webinar. It was absolutely rad. So that's a real passion project with me. I'm loving that. And then lastly, our real estate holdings. So we're working on right now the biggest investment we've ever made. We have an LOI out. We're negotiating terms and settlements on a 15-acre parcel. We're going to build 150,000 square feet office park. So think like you could have industrial space. If you owned a sprinkler company, you may have your sprinkler manufacturing in the back, and in the front you have your store shop where it's retail, and up above you have a little bit of like office space. So this is in an area of southern Utah that has absolutely nothing like this. These industrial parks are very popular in Southern California. Nothing like this in this town in southern Utah. It's exploding with population. And so it's a huge investment. It's the largest investment in any one project we've ever made. So, I got a lot of balls in the air still.
Well, this will date me, but I love hearing about your loan atlas because Tim Brahim and Loan Toolbox for me was where I cut my teeth. That's when I really learned about marketing and the mortgage business. That's when I feel like my foundation was created off Tim Brahim, the interviews, the podcast he did. Everything out of Loan Toolbox for me was just so impactful in my life and my career. So it's so exciting for me to hear that you're working on kind of another, addition with him that involves coaching. It's great.
Thanks for saying that. Tim is he is a gifted world-class teacher. The way that he thinks and the way that he teaches and the way that he coaches is just different. I've never met anybody like him. And it's a total pleasure to get to, work in a business with him is like mind-blowing kind of dream come true moment for me. So I'm having a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Wrapping this up, I'm curious. Do you have a current mantra you live by?
Ooh, a mantra. Okay, yeah, actually I do. I've been saying this a lot recently because I feel that many people in real estate and mortgage are 3 years into the desert run. Right? We thought elevated mortgage rates and slower sales numbers were going to be 6 months. And then we were sure by year 2, right? We were going to be back. And then now here we are in year 3. And I'm seeing a lot of people who haven't adapted to the new reality and shifted into the gear that it takes to find the success that they want in this market. They're getting to the end of their savings, right? Their HELOCs are getting maxed out. They've sold off some assets. The credit card balances are going up versus down. And I'm feeling people really kind of slipping into scarcity. And I've been doing a lot of meditation work. That's something that Tim coached me on. I've been coaching with Tim now for 5 years. And Tim introduced me to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And one of the things that Dr. Joe Dispenza says all the time is, and this is getting to the mantra, is that appreciation and gratitude are always the precursor to abundance. So if you're running around feeling scarce, feeling not grateful, and without appreciation, you're attracting scarcity, meaning the same opportunities may be coming to you, and you're swinging and missing those opportunities because of the energy that you have inside of you, while the same person could take the same opportunities with the same circumstance. If they're in a place of appreciation and gratitude, they're attracting that success and they're hitting that ball out of the park. So, I've been saying over and over and over to my team, let's not forget, appreciation and gratitude are the precursors of abundance. Scarcity and negativity are the precursors for your economic scarcity. So you got to decide every day, what's the routines, the rituals, the actions, the things that I engage in that puts me in a place of appreciation and gratitude. And you don't have to be wealthy for that, right? Like I went out yesterday morning and sat underneath the stars and did a Joe Dispenza meditation. And I was overwhelmed with gratitude and appreciation for the universe. It didn't cost me $1, right? Like I'd listened to a free guided meditation. So we have to figure out what is going to put us in that space every day, despite the challenges, so that we have that energy of appreciation and gratitude, which will then help us find the success and attract abundance.
I love it. So 2008, I went through bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce, everything.
All the things.
And I remember that was when I read Think and Grow Rich. And I had this bank statement before that ever happened. And I had this balance on there. And I would just live with this life of appreciation and meditate every morning, envisioning this balance. And I would just go to work every day with this mindset of appreciation there. So I love it. I 100% agree with what you're saying. That's awesome.
The internal narrative always has to change before the external narrative does.
That's right. That's right.
So this was awesome. I appreciate the time with you. I guess I'll share one last thing that has come up to me many times over the last 20 years. And I just had a conversation with one of the branch managers that I lead today around this. And there's this quote from Jim Rohn where he is my favorite quote. I mean, he's got so many great quotes. For anybody who doesn't know who Jim Rohn is, he's like the godfather of personal development. You know, he was like the mentor for Tony Robbins that kind of set him on the path that he is. And he's a beautiful man. And one of my favorite quote, he talks about, now I won't get the quote exactly right, but you'll get the gist of it. You can look it up. He says that chasing success is a little bit like chasing a butterfly. It's always fleeting. You'll never catch the butterfly, right? Attracting success is the game you want to be in. And it's working on the person that you want to become that attracts the success. So to me, when I read that or listened to that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm so busy chasing success, that's the butterfly, I can slow down just a little bit and I can focus on the personal development and focus on becoming the person that I want to become. And through that act, I'll attract that success that I eventually want. So, you know, if anybody's struggling out there, perhaps doing more of what you've been doing, if you're not attracting that success, perhaps pivot a little bit and start to focus on some personal development stuff and see if the act of working on who you want to become brings you the success that you desire.
Love it. He has this, it's on Audible, The Art of Exceptional Living.
Yes.
And I am like 6 months into listening to this thing. It's like 3 or 4 hours long, over and over and over. And I cannot get enough of that. And a lot of it's a live talk that he's doing. Some of it's pre-recorded. But the funniest thing to me is he talks about circumstances. And he says in the beginning, he says, you know, I used to blame all the circumstances on myself. You know, if these Republicans stay in the White House, the world's going to go to shit. If the Democrats get to the White House, the world's going to go to shit. If interest rates stay high, sound familiar, the world's going to go to shit. Until I realized that I can't change these circumstances around me. I have to work on changing myself. So if anyone's looking for just the most classic Audible book to listen to right now, to learn from Jim Rohn, The Art of Exceptional Living, is phenomenal. I highly recommend it.
So that's an audiobook that you can buy on Audible?
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
exactly.
Killer. Fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm going to put it in my queue right now. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I've heard excerpts of that, but I don't think I've ever heard the 3.5 hour monologue.
It's amazing. You'll love it. It's
beautiful.
phenomenal.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just incredibly appreciative of your time and your willingness to share. And thank you. I just really can't thank you enough for being here, talking with us, sharing this. I'm sure people will find this valuable. And I hope you have an amazing day today.
Thank you, brother. Glad to be here. And hopefully this was helpful to somebody.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy. For many years, I was a mortgage originator that could never break my plateau of $50 million a year in production. Well, I figured out the way to break $100 million, and I can share that with you. If you're an originator and you're struggling at that $50 million level, Intersect Coaching can help you break that and get to $100 million of production every single year. To learn more about Intersect Coaching, call me anytime, 303-500-3839.